Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burps Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Wright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burps Podcast. Today's guest is Derek. Hi Derek.
Hey Brooke, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Derek is a life optimization coach. Did I pronounce that right?
You got it. You nailed it.
So can you tell our listeners, how did you know that you were a narcissist? Wow.
All right, we'll get right into it. So essentially I took a look around and, essentially years of destructive behavior and constantly blaming other people for my actions. I had to figure out why these things were happening in my life. And it came down to essentially me being a narcissist and only looking out for me and being reckless and careless with everyone else's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So once I had that awakening, it was a tough pill to swallow and tough to acknowledge. But I knew I had to essentially face my own bullcrap if I wanted to change what was going on in my life and change the person that I wanted to be versus the person who I actually was.
Yeah, that's good. So can you tell our listeners what exactly an optimization coach is?
Yeah, so essentially life optimization is helping people live at their full potential, because as people go through life, as we all go through life, we experience different events and different traumas that start to affect our way of thinking, and we start creating less than optimal behavior patterns, and then those dramatically affect our life and the direction that we go. So I help people reconnect their true potential and start helping them unpack any sheltering or negative beliefs that they have about themselves or that they've been taught by other people. And then that kind of frees them up to step into their own light that they've been disregarding for most of their life.
Wow. So what's your process to get them to change their life like that? Because when you grow up that way and you live your life that way for so long, how do you break them out of that? How does that work?
So I kind of use the scenario of you have to unpack your luggage, because we all carry around luggage full of, like I said, past experiences, past drama, past trauma, full of self-limiting beliefs. And until we actually open the suitcase and figure out what's in there, then we can figure out how to approach it. But majority of people don't ever want to look in their suitcase because they kind of know what's in there and they don't want to acknowledge it or face it. So the first step is to actually see what's in each person's luggage. And like you said, things stem from childhood, from past relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So first we have to bring those into the light. So whether it's the constant feeling of being unworthiness, we have to see where that root first started. And usually it starts way before, especially way before they get to me, but usually transpires in their adolescent years or their young adult years. And then they carry it for forever. That just becomes second nature. And then that's why we have to look inside and see exactly what's going on and where those stem from. And then we can start to unravel the whole process.
Oh, wow. That sounds nice. So how long does it usually take with coaching with you? Like, if it takes 12 weeks and they're still not together, do you go like beyond that? Like, how does it work?
So it essentially goes in 12-week blocks. It's a 12-week step process. And what usually happens is they reach their potential in the 12 weeks. But now that they have this new sense of enlightenment and this feeling of living in their true potential, they usually want to continue going and keep pushing themselves to these heights that they never thought possible. So some clients have been with me for like 7 years. Some people do 12 weeks with me and then take a break and kind of explore the world with what I've taught them and the guidance I've given them. And then they come back. And then some people just do the 12 weeks, but it's designed in a 12-week program. And then it continues from there, depending on each person's obviously completely different and what their preferences are.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So what are the 7 traits every man must process to avoid to becoming a narcissist? Wow.
Oh, hold on. Let me pull that back up. So the essentially the 7 traits that every man should possess, and these 7 traits that I highlight are there because I feel like they are specifically what most men lose due to narcissism, et cetera, et cetera. So this is why if you can maintain these 7 traits as a man, you'll kind of avoid the pitfalls of narcissism and self-sabotaging behaviors. So the first trait is to be courageous. So in any life situation, you want to be courageous because every man has fears and insecurities that we can't control. However, if you're fully developed as a man mentally and emotionally, you're going to have the ability to push forward in spite of your fears. So a narcissist will be the opposite of courageous. He'll be indecisive, whether it's going back and forth between 2 women, whether it's lying to people to tell them what those people want to hear instead of speaking from the truth, even if it scares them. So that's why being courageous is one of the traits that you must have. The second trait is having control over your emotions, because how a man reacts to unfavorable circumstances will dramatically dictate his life. So essentially how a man acts when things go completely wrong is extremely vital, because if you're a narcissist, you have some kind of trauma that you haven't dealt with, which is why you're acting the way you are. So if somebody triggers that trauma, you're going to start acting in an unfavorable way, aka self-sabotaging behavior. So you have to be in control of those emotions, whether it hits a trigger or it hits something that hurts really bad. You still have to remain in control over your emotions.
Right.
And then the third trait is essentially every man has to have a purpose. So as a man, you never want to float through life aimlessly. You want to have some kind of dream, and you want to essentially never give up on those, because when you start floating aimlessly, you start making careless decisions because there's no repercussions to those decisions, because they don't affect your goal or your dreams, because you don't have any. You don't have a purpose, so you don't know how to navigate, essentially.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Wow. Like, I did not know that there was, like, I never really picked out traits of narcissists, men that I've dated or women that I've been involved with. Like, I've never noticed, like, narcissists. Like, I never pointed that out. I always thought it was gaslighting. Because,
yes. It's, I don't know. I don't feel like many people talk about narcissism, especially people that have been actual narcissists. But with that being said, a narcissist is also going to attract a certain type of partner, because a narcissist you're not born a narcissist. So certain things have to happen and certain people have to show up in your life for you to become a narcissist and put on that protective barrier where you only focus on saving yourself. And so they're going to attract people. For instance, a narcissist will attract a female partner who is a people pleaser, who is always trying to fix people around them.
Oh, okay. Well, dang, maybe I did. Maybe I did. Now that you pointed it out, like I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, when is the exact moment when you committed to turning your life around?
To be honest, I ran out of places to run away from, and essentially was confronted face to face from everybody that I hurt at one time.
Oh,
and I didn't have I could either, keep going on my path and keep reliving the self-sabotaging behavior, keep causing, trouble in other people's life, or I could, like I said, face the facts of who I was and what I'd done, and do everything in my power to change it around and start acting essentially the opposite.
Wow. So they did like a what do you call it, intervention with you or something, or did they just?
It was a unplanned intervention, but we can definitely call it an intervention. It wasn't scheduled or thought out. It just kind of happened, and that was, during it was probably one of the hardest things I went through in my life, but it was the most necessary thing that had to happen in my life at that time.
Wow. So what advice can you offer to someone with suicidal tendencies?
So someone that has suicidal tendencies, the advice I would offer them is to reach out to me, because a lot of times when people say, they'll tell people with suicide tendencies that they're not alone, right? That you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. But if you're having legit suicidal tendencies, you're 100% alone with those thoughts. There's nothing nobody can say that's going to make you feel better or anything like that. What got me through my suicide attempts and kept me moving forward was essentially I had to reconnect with my faith of the higher power. So whether you want to call it God or whatever, I had to connect to something that I knew provided me with unconditional love. So that's what kept me going, knowing that would not judge me or abandon me. And that's kind of what kept me going.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too. Like, the reason why I started podcasting is because I tried to commit suicide last year on my birthday. Now I'm coming up on this year on my birthday, but last year on my birthday, I did the same thing. And then I talked to God, and then I started actively podcasting, like people like you. And a lot of the people I've interviewed, over 200 people, and all of them have said that I can message them whenever I want to, just to talk, and they'll listen and they'll have advice. And there have been quite a few guests that I've had on here that I message every now and then when I'm feeling down. And it has helped me, like, with my suicide and like with my thoughts and stuff, because I'm one of those people that actively does it, like actively tries to kill myself. Like, I just don't talk about it. I actually try to do it. And so they're just like, reach out to me, come and talk to me whenever you need it. And I'm like, I've made a lot of friends because of it. Even celebrities. I made celebrity friends too. I'm like, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. Up until probably been a year, my second attempt. But I only even started talking about my actual suicide attempts a few months ago, because there was so much, shame about it, and a lot of shame and embarrassment around men's mental health, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing. I knew what I went through, and if I knew that somebody else had went through that, then I knew that would pull me through. So I just started, talking about it openly and being as honest with people as possible. And same thing, I tell people, if you got something going on, send me a message, because as you know from experience, there's certain things that you feel and certain things that happen when you try those things, and it's not just kind words of telling somebody that they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like this guy that I interviewed, I don't think you listened to it, but he is a male coach too, and he talks about male mental illness. And I was telling him, like, a lot of males don't come forward with their mental illness. Like, they don't usually speak to their significant other about it, because they may see them as, weak, or may think they think they're weak. And it's just a lot. It's harder for men to open up. So
I mean, if I would have opened up, because depression runs in my family, and so like I was battling depression when my life was great and I had everything I wanted. I was still battling depression. I'm too proud and embarrassed to ever talk to somebody. I didn't feel worthy. My life was so good, but from not this, what happens when you don't speak up? Things only, you get to rock bottom before something happens.
Yeah, that's true. I want to thank you so much, Derek, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
I appreciate you having me. I enjoyed it.
You have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Derek. Please excuse my screen. I was trying to get my green screen to fix, but it didn't. But anyway, thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Derek. If you would like to check out his coaching, I always forget to put it at the bottom. Okay, if you would like to check out his coaching, I have linked my website below. It's sheblurbs.wixsite.com/sheblurbs. And you go to my podcast, my live interview podcast, and you can look up Derek. And within that link, it has his websites on there to where you can view his coaching and everything else. I want to thank you all so much for listening to my podcast, and thank you all so much for your support. Have a great day. Bye.